Well, I think this is going to be a long-awaited comparison video for a bunch of you guys out there that are wanting to get into mulching and are looking at maybe the CAT 299 versus the ASV RT-135. So I'm just going to kind of go front to back, top to bottom. I'm not going to just come out and try to bag on either one of these. They both do certain things really well. As you can see, I got the grapple on the ASV and the Lofness mulcher on the CAT. And if you look in the background, you'll probably see that other yellow thing back there, and that's the Eco. And check out my other video where I did a really quick review on that. Didn't even run it for 10 hours and very quickly decided that was enough of that for me. You might also have heard the CAT 275 XE just came out. That's the new version of this one. That's the 299 went to 275, and then they came out with a new model they've never had before. It's called the 285. They have the standard flow, and then they have the 285 XE, which is the high flow, and that is the competitor for the Case Minotaur. So that's like the they call these with the tracks a CTL, or a compact track loader. The Case Minotaur, they call that a compact track dozer, or a CTD. CAT's still calling theirs a compact track loader. They're not using that dozer name. But anyway, I digress. That's the newer model. It's going to cost you a lot more than this guy here, since these are kind of on their way out now. You know, this is the older model. The new ones have all sorts of updated features. Probably everything I'm going to complain about on this one is probably fixed on the new one, but that price tag is probably going to give you sticker shock. ASV, I really don't know where they're at as far as, you know, if they're coming out with a new model or if they're going to come out with a mid-generation update, little facelift. Let's dive in here, and I got a little list here in front of me. I'm just going to kind of start reading through it. So the reason we have the grapple on the more powerful ASV is because it made the hydraulic motor on this thing explode like a hand grenade last year, and it has blown through, I think, 2 pressure relief valves since then. So it's just a beast. It's too much for that poor little Lofness mulcher, and we're tired of having downtime. So we took the downgrade on the CAT power-wise just to keep this thing alive. So let's talk about power and flow. The CAT has 110 horsepower. ASV has 132. So you got 22 more horsepower with ASV. It's very noticeable. You also have roughly 200 more engine RPM. This will get up to about 2,600 RPM. And this is, I think it's between 24 and 2,500 RPM. So it's noticeably lower operating RPM. Now, that being said, the CAT is so quiet, I can run this mulcher, have my Bluetooth earbuds in, and talk on the phone, running wide open, full RPM. The hydraulics on this thing are so freaking loud that I can barely talk sitting still at an idle. And weirdly enough, it's actually quieter. Like if I get out and I stand like right here, I can talk on the phone with the machine running, and it's quieter than if I'm in the cab. So they have really poor sound management on the ASV for the operator. All right, let's talk about flow, because that's the biggest thing. CAT only has 40 gallons a minute. ASV's got 50 gallons a minute. ASV's been leading the industry for a while, because even the RT-120 had 45 gallons a minute. And that's, you know, 5 gallons a minute is about 11 or 12% more. How that affects this is it increases your blade speed. So the more speed you get, the more inertia you get. It's like the momentum, you know. How big of a tree can you go through before you stop the blade from spinning once it's spooled up? Difference is absolutely significant with the CAT, and unfortunately, even the new 275 and 285 are still only 40 gallons a minute. Both these machines or about 4,000 psi operating pressure with the high flow. The new cat's going to have 4,500 psi approximately. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect things. The new one's also 134 horsepower, but the big thing is it's like double the torque. It goes from like 200 something foot-pounds of torque to I believe it's 400 foot-pounds of torque. So right now, these guys are both 3.8 liter. It's a Cummins 3.8, Cat 3.8, and then the new Cat is going to I guess it's a Perkins 3.6 liter, but a lot more powerful. Fuel efficiency wise, that thing started out awesome. It has started to eat some engine oil. It was burning coolant at one point, and then that mysteriously got solved after a trip to the dealer. They didn't tell us anything about what they fixed, but it hasn't leaked or burned a drop since, so it must have been a leak. This thing has been amazing on fuel. With the mulcher, I'm just a little bit over 4 gallons an hour, which I think is really good because the ASV, it's been in the 5s, and I've even had it over 6 at one point, but that was when the air filter was restricted and it was really hot out. So about a gallon per hour difference, which will add up a lot if you're running this full time. Fuel capacity wise, the ASV has a 52 gallon tank. This guy only has roughly 31 gallons. So you can get these saddle tanks that mount where these counterweights are. Take these off, the tank kind of just comes out from here on either side. Then you get 58 gallons instead of 31. And like another YouTube reviewer pointed out, the con to that is when you run out of fuel, your rear end gets light. So it gives you nice balance when it's full, but it's going to be dynamic. So it's going to be kind of weird if you're on a lot of uneven terrain dealing with an ever-changing center of mass. So this thing, I don't usually use the word perfect very often, but this thing is balanced almost perfectly. I feel extremely confident on the steep side hills and slopes. This thing is extremely light in the rear end. I've raised the mulcher up too high when I'm headed downhill, and I've had the front end come crashing down once already. So it's, you know, it's like riding a 3-wheeler versus riding a 4-wheeler almost. You can't just hop out of one and hop into the other and go without making some mental adjustments to your controls. The Cat is really, really touchy, and with the screen, it only gives you low, medium, and high for sensitivity on the joysticks. With the ASV, you get very finite control. It gives you individual control of everything, from the loader, the aggressiveness of the joystick. So another big difference just in controls, I mentioned you can fine tune the sensitivity, but when you let off the stick on the ASV, it stops and it essentially puts the parking brake on immediately. So when you're going down these really steep hills, okay, let's get over the fulcrum right here. There we are. So gravity wants to pull the skid steer down, and as soon as I let off the joystick and the ASV, it stops. Essentially, it's just the same as having your parking brake on. With the Cat, once I let off, it'll say I let off right now. It goes about that much further before it puts the brake on. And when you're working on these extreme hills, that can be the difference between going to the point of no return, like there we just went over the fulcrum, and now you might not be able to get back up. So I tell people with the ASV, I got such great control. It's like I could do brain surgery with this thing. You can turn creep mode on or off, also go into rabbit mode, and that affects how fast your loader goes up and down. This also has creep mode, normal mode, and rabbit mode, but they're different because this one it's got a quick button on the left joystick to turn the creep mode on. This one you have to go into the heads up display to turn it on or off, so that's a pain. So I always just leave it on. It's either creep mode or rabbit mode with this one. And I'll change the percentage. So creep mode, it gives you a percentage of normal. So normal would be 100%. So when I'm piling trees, I'm usually running 70%. So that's, derating 30% slower from normal. With this one, it gives you a number of like 1 to 20 for creep mode. And the bad thing is when you turn creep mode on, it replaces the clock on the heads-up display, like where your time's displayed. So I really dislike that part. When you turn creep mode on, you don't know what time it is. When I run this one with creep mode turned off and I'm just in normal mode, it's pretty fast for normal mode. So I don't really ever use standard mode on this one. Guess we were talking about fuel a little bit, so I'll talk about fueling up. This one has the fuel filler right here. This pocket likes to fill up with dirt, as you can see, but it's easy to get to and it's a quick turn to get it on and off. They did an update so that the vent tube that goes down to the fuel tank to let air out as fuel's going in, they put a bigger vent tube in so I can run my 20 gallon a minute pump at full bore now, and really haven't had any problems to speak of. Now on this guy, I really don't like the fuel filler location, and it's no different on the new ones. It's kind of this goofy, like all you do is pull that up and rotate it 1/8 of a turn and it comes out. And it's like a compression gasket. It doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence in me for not leaking. You can see if the diesel tank fills up and spills out at all, it's going to make a mess. It's going to go onto your battery. So putting a flammable liquid fill port right above a battery seems like a really stupid thing to do to me, and it's literally the exact same in their brand new series. So I should also mention the new series is a ground up. It's a complete redesign. It's not like a facelift of this thing. It's a brand new skid steer. I say that, and then you look at the back door on the new ones and it's the exact same layout. So DEF and hydraulic fluid. So you get these doors over here and you can put your starter key in there. So it's one key. It's the same key for everything. And you can lock these so a tree can't hit that and turn it and open it. That part's nice. This area sucks to fill up though, because how are you going to get hydraulic oil, into this tiny little area from a 5 gallon bucket? And the DEF, I mean, you don't even know it's full till it's spilling out. So, but the good thing is you got this nice little, try to zoom in on this. That's your gauge for the hydraulic oil. That's really easy to see. That part's nice. Let's go over here and we'll look at our DEF and we'll look at our hydraulic oil. And as far as doors go, this has 2 side doors and a top door, and the original hinge had 3 hinges on it, and you can see this one's broke. So I need ASV to send me a new one. If you're watching ASV, please send me a new one. On this side, this has the updated, because these things are snapping on people right and left. So their fix was to take off the middle. And this door's steel and it weighs a ton, so you want to open it and hold it and not let it yank against this stop. This one has the battery inside, so it's tucked away from flammable liquids, but they don't have a seal over this whole compartment, so this fills up and it's almost impossible to clean out. So that part is really dumb. that just needs to have a sealing door on it and it'd be awesome. So the def over here, it's easy to fill up, but the lid's a pain in the butt, and it takes a special key instead of having the same key that you use to start it. And honestly, please just put this style of cap on it. I don't need to, you know, why would I want to lock my def, but not my fuel? ASV's response is, this is the cap that comes with the def tank from Cummins, but you know, if you can custom make all this other plastic stuff, you can custom make a better lid. Bad thing about the tanks is you don't ever want to fill them full in the winter because they expand by whatever, I think 30% when it gets below freezing. So they will leak if you fill them too full and it freezes. And if you overfill and it spills out, it just gets into that dust and it pretty much turns into brick. Air filters, this is a goofy proprietary deal. It's a big square pyramid looking thing. They're out of stock most of the time when I'm needing to buy them. On the Cat, we've just got a standard round canister filter. You can get the Wix part number if you don't want to use the Cat, and you can go run down to Napa. Napa filters, in case you didn't know, are Wix. It's the Wix part number with an extra digit on the front, or yeah, I think they add like a 7 on the front. This thing, I'll show you here, doesn't drain properly, so we're looking at getting the better air intake system on this, because this is the air filter housing. It sucks the air in through this hole right here, so it can suck anything in. They make a kit to bring a little dome out, like a military style, with the mesh on it to keep some of the bigger debris out. So you have to kind of pick and choose what options you want to bolt onto this thing when you buy it. Whereas the ASV, you just say, hey, I want the forestry version of the RT-135. I did forget about the hydraulic oil. So the hydraulic oil goes in here. Again, super simple to get to. Same fill cap as the diesel. So we don't have to screw around with keys. But the bad thing is they give you this light switch to see the oil level, and they tell you jiggle this hose until you see fluid. It's really complicated. Not a fan of that at all. The little meter gauge like the Cat has definitely wins that one for me. DPF, so you can see this thing is vertical. It's easy to keep clean underneath. That's good. Apparently Cat has just a horrible reputation for burning to the ground. And I can't see this even off camera, so I don't know how I'm going to show it to you, but it's behind this pipe that way. Can't get to it, so if it gets dirty, I can see why they burn up, because you can't get to it to clean it. Neither one's real convenient for cleaning the cooler stack. This one, you pull this rubber thing off, and you can raise this up about 4 inches to blow the radiator out. Hydraulic cooler. Honestly, I've never had this apart, so I don't know how the whole thing works. If it's all hydraulic and coolant, intercooler are all part of that thing, I'm really not honestly sure. But we got the hydraulic auxiliary cooler on top. So temperature-wise, and this is a big one, temperature-wise, this thing doesn't get hot. The hottest I've seen on hydraulic temps is 164. Normally it runs around 150, mid 150s. And I'm talking in the 90s, ambient temperature, hot day. This one, huge problem with the hydraulic oil temp. It'll get up to 180, and then what it does is it derates the I don't know if it just derates the hydraulic high flow because this has a variable pump. So you can actually go into the heads-up display and turn it down to 40 gallons a minute or 30 gallons a minute. And it derates something because the disc mulcher quits spinning as fast, and then it'll get up to about 190, 194, and it'll shut the hydraulics off completely until that hydraulic fluid cools back down. So this one, you got a couple bolts, and then this whole thing is hinged, and you can fold this back and you can see the hinges at the bottom. And then you can fold this back and get the pressure washer in. So this one, you know, you got the hydraulic cooler, you got the engine coolant cooler, and then you got the intercooler. So the intercooler is super easy to keep clean. The other two, not at all. Everybody thinks this is a hydraulic cooler, but this is actually the AC condenser on top. So it's, I'm not going to say it's super easy to keep clean. It's easier than the radiator in the hydraulic cooler, but you have to come in and actually remove bolts to open this door up to clean that out. And anytime you got to take a bolt out, that's a lot of work. Now on this guy, it doesn't get any easier. Here's your condenser. Blow it out, Bob's your uncle. Bad thing is it relies on having this all sealed, and you can see this thing keeps, this seal keeps coming off. I mean, all the time it's coming off. It's driving me nuts. I would kind of think there should be one on here, but I've never seen one on there, so I will have to ask about that. I have a feeling that didn't get put on or disappeared. You can see I have a seal down here, but the point is the fan sucks air through here, shoots it out through here. So that's how you're cooling the AC condenser. So you want all your air to flow through here. You don't want to be sucking air through these gaps, which you can see there are massive gaps. So without a nice seal all the way around this door, you're going to be sucking air around the condenser, so that's not good. Now to lock this door open, they give you this little clevis, whatever you want to call it. And it just goes there, so then the door can't close. And what else? You got this timing or serpentine belt cover, and a lot of stuff gets back behind this. So plan on taking this off and cleaning this out periodically. Speaking of cleaning, the cat gets an F- in this category because there's no doors. Yeah, that stupid little thing. Now, ASV gets an A-, and if they want an A+, the fix is really simple. They got all these nice bolt-on doors. This back one comes off. The rest are all hinged. The problem is the front one is hinged backwards. So I can crawl underneath from the back and get the first two, but then the front one, I have to crawl in from the front. And as you can see, I can't really do that. So it's pretty much a two-person operation because I have, and this is a problem with both. Stupid problem. You have to have two people. You have to have one person inside to lift the arms, and then you put this hydraulic cylinder stop over the shaft just to mechanically prevent the arms from coming back down. It's the exact same thing on the cat. So if you go to New Holland, they have a pin inside. It's like a deadbolt inside the cab, and you just lift your arms up and push the deadbolt out. Then you can get out and access the front of your machine with worrying about getting crushed by the loader. Don't know how easy that one is to add in for either of these machines, but it's kind of a big deal. Doors. So the ASV door is 3/4 inch polycarbonate. You can see super solid. It's got the windshield wiper behind the guard. The thing I don't like is there's no seal on the fluid reservoir. There's no, O-ring in there or nothing. So if you fill this, basically I filled this thing full and everything that's come out has come out on my feet in the cab because it just blows out of here. And there's also a bunch of complicated stuff going on with seals passing through the door. So this one wins on the construction of the door and the protection of the windshield wiper and how much the windshield wiper cleans. And then we come over here and this door is an absolute joke. I'll try to show you how much it flexes. Like the whole door bends. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it's very, very flimsy. I bet that's maybe an 1/8 inch thick at most, is probably an 1/8 inch thick. The nice thing is the way they do this cap is sealed. It's got a gasket to push against, so I haven't spilled a drop out of there. The fluid line comes out, goes through here. Haven't had any problems with that. You can kind of see the travel of the windshield wiper blade itself. It's just not quite as good as ASV as far as how much it covers, and then it's not protected at all. There's no guard on it. And this is the ballistic door, so I mean that's the best you can get. And you might be wondering, well, why do you care about windshield wipers? Why you're not going to mulch in the rain? The answer is to wipe off the dust, because you're going to be wiping a lot of dust off. And neither machine has it. Both of them, you have to reach up and hit a button. I'd really like to see that be a quick command button on the joystick, because if it's dry out and you're mulching, you're going to be using that windshield wiper like every couple minutes. Now lights, this has adjustable lights, which is great. I wish we don't have the guard on this machine. There is a guard kit, which these get smacked by tree branches, so they get moved. So the guards would be nice. I wish there were two though, two on each side, so you could have highs and lows. Because if you're carrying this machine, this casts a huge shadow in front of you. So it'd be nice to have light go above and below the bar. So on the ASV, you got LED bars. They're not adjustable. Or not easily anyway, but they are protected. This one has the horn up there. If you honk it with the door open, you will be deaf. This one has it down here, so it's not enough to make you deaf if you accidentally honk it with the door open. The track system, this is another thing. We need to get the guards to cover up the hoses that go to the drive motor, but on the new Cat, instead of this part being mounted as part of the track assembly, this is mounted to the machine. So you don't have any hoses because it's coming out of the machine. So not really sure how that all works, but there's no hoses to have to worry about protecting on the new 285s. This one has hoses coming out. They got like this little wrap thing around them and then a little bit of a skid plate up there. They are still exposed more than these would be if we had the skid plate package installed. You can see all the bolt holes around there. As far as tensioning goes, we couldn't keep these tracks tight to save our lives. When we got this, kept coming loose. Both of them popped off, left and right. The fix was to Loctite, just blue Loctite, not red. Blue Loctite the hell out of this and the jam nut, So after the first track popped off, I did that to one side, left the other side without it because ASV didn't want Loctite on it. I proved that the Loctite fixed the problem, but then the other side that didn't have Loctite popped off that track. And at that point we said, we're going to fix this so this never happens again. And we pulled the whole thing apart to get the track back on, and we double nutted each side. So it's Loctited and it's double nutted. Hasn't budged at all since doing that, and that was well over 100 hours ago. This one, you pop this 13mm head bolt out, take this cover plate off, and pump the grease zerk, and that's what gives your tension there. As far as ride goes, they both have some type of torsion beam axle. The new 285, it's got an equalizer bar and it's completely different, so I don't know how that's going to compare. As far as ride quality goes, though, the Cat, surprisingly, to my surprise, is way smoother. As far as traction in the snow goes, I've heard these things are horrible, and I can understand why, as front heavy as it is. I can say after driving this one through a blizzard for over a month, I tried to get it stuck just driving around just right out here. It was awesome. The weight's so evenly distributed. Definitely a perk of the whatever you want to call it, this type of suspension or track system. It's also nice because you can see through there. That's pretty well closed off. But the other part of the ride quality is this thing, since it's the forestry model, they refuse to activate the buttons for your hydraulic ride control, which is like hydraulic shock absorber, and then the self-leveling bucket. So you can see it has the buttons. You can't turn them on. This one has them, and guess what? They work, and it's freaking amazing. When you turn the ride control on, the disc mulcher just turns into a shock absorber and starts bouncing up and down when you're driving out to your mulching site. It's a game changer. And then the self-leveling bucket, when you're trying to fill up a dump truck, also game changer. You're not dumping dirt all over your roof. So this guy, this auxiliary hydraulic cooler, sticks way up, hits a lot of stuff. So when I drive into a tree, I actually have to go in and go up and clear all the branches overhead before I can even get to the stump. Otherwise I will smack that hydraulic cooler housing. So it gets a bad rep for that. It's nice because you have these thumb screws that you can take out and blow all the debris out versus having to get a wrench out and take actual bolts out. I wish somehow we could put the Cat hydraulic cooler on the ASV to control the coolant temp problem. The problem is, where would you put it? Because this here is the escape hatch, and it's really simple to use. You just flip two levers on the inside and the door comes off and you can crawl out the top. So I've actually used this twice. The escape hatch on this is, you actually remove the rear window by like pulling the gasket out. So it's not like a quick escape. It's like you're actually taking the rear window out of your pickup. So that kind of sucks. Plus, it's just an awkward escape path. I'm surprised they haven't come up with something better. Interestingly enough, the Cat runs way hotter with the coolant. It's just got a hotter thermostat. I think it opens up at 203. So it'll operate, for me, about 203 to 208. Haven't had any problems with that yet. Haven't had any problems with the ASV either, but it runs around 183. So I really like the cooler thermostat. Your engine is going to dictate what coolant level you have to run at, because that affects the viscosity of your oil and other things. So Diesels run more efficiently at a higher temperature, which might sound weird, but it reduces the capacity that you have till you overheat. You know, it's the number's smaller between 203 to 240 than it is from 183 to 240. So the other benefit is when you're stacking your cooler stack, this is only at 183, and then you got your hydraulic fluid there. You don't really want to have this 20 degrees hotter next to this because that heat's going to move through. But knock on wood, engine coolant wise, haven't had a problem with either one, but it's just weird that the cat runs so much hotter. So why would we go to the cat with less power and less flow besides the loftiness blowing up? Well, it's just stuff breaking. So this thing was actually delivered broken. Air conditioner didn't work when we got it. I think it's failed 8 times. I lost count. It's been into the shop so many freaking times. This, I have 50 hours on it so far. Knock on wood, no problems. There's stuff we need to add, but nothing's broken on it. This thing, in the first 30 hours, I think it had already broken down. Well, it was broken when we got it, and then it really broke down after like 25, 30 hours. So reliability, dealer support is huge. The best way I can describe these machines, when people say, which one do you like more? Neither one is perfect. I don't like either one more than the other. The funny thing is, what one machine does wrong, the other machine does right. Neither one does everything right, but it's all about your dealer support. If we had as good of ASV dealer as we do cat, I probably wouldn't be looking at a cat right now because we would have gotten the problems taken care of with the ASV. So make sure before you make a purchasing decision that you have a good dealer and that they're going to take care of you. Because believe it or not, the dealer can make or break the machine. It can be the best machine in the world, but a terrible dealer is going to ruin it for you. All right, so I'm on the back end. This guy also has an option back here for a big guard door that goes from here to that side. This exo cage is huge. I mean, look at how many scuff marks there are on it. I use it. It's just a great thing. This has nothing as far as roll bar, skid bar. I'd call it an exo cage because that's really what it is. But that's great. Good on you, ASV, for making that. Only part I don't like is this gap right here because a tree can fall in right here. This, I don't know why this doesn't just come over and connect into this. So that can't happen. But I definitely notice it. And why am I using that so much? Well, when you're backing up in a hurry from a tree that might fall on you, it's important to get out of the way fast. Speaking of which, the rear visibility on this thing, you can just see straight out the back onto the ground. This one, you can't see anything behind you looking out the back window. Very, very restricted view. All you see is your radiator and the lines for the hydraulic cooler. So you have to use the camera and the cat to back up. The new one, I think they moved the engine down an inch or an inch and a half, and they got rid of all those stupid lines that run across right in your view. There's no reason the line couldn't go up to the cab and then go over. That would have made a lot more sense, because believe it or not, that takes up a lot of your view right there. It's several inches. It's like 3 inches. But supposedly, I don't think the new ones have the ASV visibility, but they claim they're better than this by a lot. Don't have a whole lot of other things to talk about on the outside. This didn't come with the hydraulic quick coupler guard. There's this goofy, like archaic design where you have to put this jumper. This is just a quick screw-on coupler, and all that's happening in here is it's got a jumper cable that hooks one pin up to another one to turn high flow on. So if I want to take this off and put the grapple on, I have to take this off. And oh wow. So yeah, you can see I've been having problems with these flat face connectors going in and getting stuck, and they don't come back out. So I'm going to have to figure that out, because over here, if that ever happens, all you do is you flick the hydraulic switch and it'll shoot it back out. On this one, they just go in and they get stuck and they don't come out, and you got to sit here and tap on it. Heck of a sunset. Anyway, on the outside, this has a two-stage air intake filter system. So you got a filter here, and then in the cab there's a filter. And so the blower fan is sucking in fresh air from outside, and it's sucking air from inside the cab, and then it's blowing all of it into the cab. So you pressurize your cab. Those filters get dirty in like 8 hours and start blowing dust into the cab. This has this tiny little cab. You got those two little thumb screws. The screws are like 3 inches long. It takes about an hour to unthread each one. I don't know why the bolts are so long, but the filter's tiny. I only have to change it about every 100 hours, and the air quality in here is awesome. So this one, you get better air quality. This one, you get better sound quality. So like I said, what one does wrong, the other one does right. The ASV will do 11 miles an hour, which when you compare it to this one, it only does 8 miles an hour. It's a significant difference. It feels like I'm crawling out into the pasture when I'm going at max speed, only going 8 miles an hour. Okay, so on this one, to release your pressure, you have to pull this out and then push it up. It's really awkward to get your fingers in there and do all that. Over here on the ASV, I don't think it could be any simpler. It's just this button, and you just push it. So this wins on that part. You'll also notice the tracks are mostly covered up on this one. Side to side and front to back, they're mostly covered up. On this one, they are 100% exposed, so if you go through mud or cow manure, it's throwing it on everything, and it sucks. I think that is all the differences on the outside I want to show you. This could come with side lights, but it didn't. I have no idea on this one. I haven't really looked at it, but if you're going to run either one of these machines at night, you're going to have side lights. You just can't not have them. So getting in here, it's simple. I don't have any complaints there. We have an air ride seat in both of them. The Cat has a heated seat, and the new models are going to have heated and cooled seats. This one has a vent between your legs. The vent's up top. It's got one here, same thing on this side, and then the returns over here. So great vent positioning in this cab. The Cat, I'll show you when we get in there, but they're all by your legs. I think I'll walk through everything in the ASV, and then I'll go back and show you everything in the Cat. So this one has these style of push buttons. You have to hold them down. Funny enough, the new Cats just straight up copied this, and that's what it'll have. You got these ports for USB. Neither this machine or the Cat will charge my phone with that. It doesn't put out enough amperage. So I use the 12-volt cigarette lighter, and the Cat doesn't have that. The new ones do, but the 299 doesn't. So I don't have any way to charge my phone in the Cat. Again, you got your windshield wiper button up here, so you have to pull your hand up and hit that. This one, you have a single lap bar. You pull, actually to start this, you don't have to do anything. You can just open the door and turn the key on and start it. The Cat, you have to get in, you have to fold down the left lap bar and be in the seat and start it that way. This has a really nice screen. This has small sliding side windows. They seal things out really well. They don't let a whole lot of air movement through. So you're not going to have the windows open anyway if you're doing forestry stuff. And honestly, as nice as the interior is, I wouldn't want dirt coming in through these. But if you're trying to communicate with someone outside, this just isn't a big enough window to let that happen. So now that this is powered up, you got a really nice screen. You got all your stuff. You have numbers for engine RPM and coolant temp. I've asked them several times to put the number up for the hydraulic oil temp, but I can't get them to do that. And then you got your DEF fluid level over here. And you can go in and you can change your loader speed. And you can change it 5% at a time versus low, medium, and high for the cat. So this is way better with all the adjustment. You get creep mode. So there's where I'm at 70%. And you come down here, you can choose how often your fan comes on to reverse the fan. You can change your pattern for your joysticks. You can change the high flow. So you can sit here and run, you can change it 1 gallon a minute at a time. So I wish I would have paid attention to that before, and I would have run the loftness just at a lower flow rate, and it might not have been so hard on it. This has a winch option. You can watch my part 1 video on the ASV to get all the details on that, but they don't offer it. You can't just order an ASV with a winch. It's got to be added on later, which I think is stupid. The new cat is going to come with a winch option, so look out for that if you're interested there. As far as our joysticks, huge difference. Probably one of the next biggest differences is this runs your hydraulics. It's like your momentary switch for hydraulics. These lock them on. So this is your high flow, forward, reverse, low flow, forward, reverse. So you hold that down and then it just keeps pressure in that direction. This, you have to hold the button over forward or back. So on the cat, you can give a quick flick to this either direction and it turns your high flow off. And here, you have to take your hand off the joystick and push this button to turn it off. And the 1 to 2 seconds it takes to do that is enough when you're cutting through a big tree that's about to fall on you. It's enough to let that tree fall on you instead of being able to kill your high flow and dedicate all your power to your tracks so you can back out and get the heck out of Dodge. So that's honestly, out of everything, I would still run the cat just because it has that feature. I don't see why ASV can't add that. You got your radio over here. It's got Bluetooth connectivity, so you can pair your phone up to it, which you're not going to be able to hear anything anyway. There's the microphone. This light and this switch is in a terrible spot. What else? We got a really nice cup holder. It fits a nice big size bottle. It's rubber, so it keeps it locked in with friction. We got a phone holder over here. It's really important. We got a storage tray over here, so you can put your lunch over there. You've got all sorts of storage back here. You got a fire extinguisher. You've got plenty of leg room, and the pedals all the way over on the side, so I can comfortably position my feet. You've got independently adjustable armrests. Honestly, I think these levers, like the spring, you see there's a spring that pushes it back. I think that spring is a little bit stiff because I get kind of sore wrists after running this all day long. I do want to point out though, air conditioner in here was a huge flaw when the 135 came out. They should have never been shipping these things out and selling them to people with it being all broken down. 2 years later, they finally got it fixed. They replaced almost the entire air conditioning system. It works awesome now. I don't have any complaints about it anymore, but it was easily my biggest complaint because of how many times it broke. You can't run a disc mulcher and not have air conditioning. One of the other things before I forget, the quick coupler pins on this, they're not really hydraulically driven, they're spring driven. Pushed on the spring, it's a complicated system, but the pins are too long. They're about 1/4 inch too long. So you go to pull out of your machine or your attachment, and you'll bend your pins because they're just caught in there by a little bit. Cut them off 1/4 inch. Haven't had any problems with this ever since. I cannot believe ASV hasn't fixed that yet. All they have to do is send people shorter pins to put in, or tell them to cut a 1/4 inch off the ones that are already in there, and then it works fine. But the fuel filler, not being able to put more than like 5 gallons a minute in, the bending quick attach pins, and the broken air conditioning were the 3 biggest problems with these RT-135s when they came out. And the fuel filling's fixed, the air conditioning's fixed, and it's easy enough to fix the quick attach pins on your own. So honestly, with those 3 updates, this machine's hard to beat. Kind of forgot to mention that there's 4 main things wrong with this when it came out. Overheating hydraulic fluid is still one of them that they haven't addressed. So they need to get that figured out on this guy. Grease zerks though, I can never get grease to go into either of the bucket zerks. There's one there and one there. They never want to take grease, and the drive track zerks never want to take grease. Whereas on this guy, I haven't had a problem with any of the zerks taking grease. It's kind of a pain to get to some of these, and it's got way more zerks, but which means more moving parts, which means more things to fail, but they all take grease. I also wanted to point out the hydraulic hose connection and routing. So this has a little deal here you can run hoses through. It's also got holes all over the place where you can put clamps or attach things. This has none of that. So you have, this is like a tie down for transportation, and there's just nothing to, there's no holes anywhere. I mean, at all. There are no holes. So I unbolted this retainer, put a carabiner behind there, and then I put this carabiner on. This is a really slick system. It's a bungee cord. It's like 3 times the strength of a bungee cord. I think this is a 700-pound or 300-pound working load limit, and it stretches out, so when I dump this all the way, the hoses can tighten out, and then when it's curled up, it keeps the hose tight and up out of harm's way. But it took me a while to figure that out. This one has so many options. You can do all sorts of stuff to protect your hoses. So just opening the door can be a challenge because it's not smooth. It's like the hinges are really sticky, and then just how much it bends and flexes. So this one has your heated seat switch, your air switch, and it's got an indicator to tell you if you're in the right position with how much air you have in. So this just has 3 vents on each side. That's it. There's nothing overhead. So your legs sit there, you'll freeze your kneecaps off and your head will be sweating. They have that fixed with the new cats. They still have 2 floor mounted, and then pretty much straight up copied the ASV, where they have this round style towards the front and then that rectangular slotted vent on the side. So this one has a bunch of rocker switches for everything, and like I said, the new cat's gonna have the soft push buttons right here. And so tiny cup holder, all it fits is a small water bottle. So if you get a bigger 24, 32 ounce drink, it doesn't fit. There is nowhere to put your phone. They have this stupid little tray that's like not even big enough to put your wallet in there, let alone your phone. This is the USB port, which I said, it actually sucks juice out of my phone instead of putting it in. You have to awkwardly turn around to get to the radio, and then there's a USB port in here, but it puts out the same amperage as that. So again, it's not enough to charge your phone. This is where the interior cab filter is hidden. There's not really any storage back here because there's no way to secure it to anything. There's no room to really put your lunch. This has this lap bar and this lap bar. The new cat is going to have just a right-sided lap bar. So again, there's no room to put anything over here for perspective. If you put anything there, it goes underneath and then it falls down, which is what my gloves did. The foot area is awkward because my feet are all the way back, all the way to the sides, all the way to the front, and the pedal's over here. I wish the pedal was in the middle so that I could have my feet like this, and that wouldn't be so bad. But on the new cats, they open this whole entire area up. So instead of having your windshield wiper fluid reservoir blocking your feet, they moved that over to the right side and picked it up. And the new ones have, actually it's a quick attach mount on each side, so you can run a cup holder and a phone mount, or 2 cup holders or 2 phone mounts. And then they have another phone mount up here that holds, they call it's the Ram brand of phone mount, and that holds your phone out like this, so you can just operate and see it, which is probably what I'm going to have to add to this machine. So Cat sells a kit, and you basically just screw it into this pillar panel. So that's probably something I'm going to have to add. I'm going to have to add a cigarette lighter somewhere so I can charge my phone, because it's dangerous not having a phone if, you know, you get stuck or have a fire, whatever. And this one has the windshield wiper button there. Pretty similar, everything else. Screen's not. I'll just turn this on real quick so I can show you the difference in adjustability on things. But one thing I wish both machines would have is just, you know, they have the rear view mirror. This one at least doesn't have a light switch for you to hit your head on in the middle. They put it over here. But I wish they would have a dedicated screen for your backup camera. Because there are so many times I'm trying to look at stuff. I'm trying to look at a temperature or an RPM or something, and I back up, and then all of a sudden that's all I see. So I wish they would just have 2 screens. This little compartment's worthless. I'd totally rather just have a screen right here. But here's, like, for example, so that's, this screen isn't bad. This tells me lots of stuff. But you go over here and you go into your machine settings, and there's, you know, your bucket and your loader sensitivity adjustment, medium, low, or high, and that's it. So that's pretty goofy. That's all you get. I don't know if I can turn. There is my creep mode. It takes the clock away, so that sucks. With the ASV, you have your heads-up display with the clock there, and you have your radio over here with the clock. Whereas this one, you'd have to turn around and look, so it's not real convenient. Honestly, I think these are really comfortable. The spring rate on this is less. I don't get fatigued running these. And you can adjust these too if you want to. The new Cat, it actually looks like they're kind of copying the ASV, because the arm support bar is independent from this bar, the lap bar. So the parts almost look identical to what's in ASV. So I guess everybody just copies each other, and that's just how it is. But this one, you just flick this, and that turns the high flow off instead of having to reach up here and turn it off. So that's huge. I mean, I would honestly buy the Cat over the ASV just for that right now. I think there is a fire extinguisher mount kit, but this doesn't come with it, which is, I don't know why all skid steers wouldn't just have one. So as the sun's setting here, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. What would I go with if I had to buy only one machine right now? I would go with the Cat, because the noise, that wears you down. The smoothness of the ride, the quick kill switch, just flicking that switch with the hydraulics is massive. Like, I can't explain how big of a deal that is when you're running a disc mulcher. The service from the dealer is so much better. The reduced power sucks, but at least we're not tearing stuff up. The track system's proven a lot more reliable. I probably would add the saddle tanks to the back now that I've run it like this. I either need more counterweights or the saddle tanks to weigh the rear end down a little more. The fuel efficiency of this engine versus the Cummins 3.8 has proven it's going to save the operator a bunch of money. Not having to deal with overheating hydraulic fluid, or any fluid for that matter, is another big perk. So I would buy the Cat right now over the ASV. Which one do I think is the better machine though? It's kind of a loaded question. I think the RT-135 has the potential to be a nearly perfect machine for disc mulching. I think the Cat is set up better out of the box. I don't think it can be the perfect machine. I don't think it has the potential. I think they have to do a ground up redesign to make it the perfect machine. And when I was writing my notes for this video, I didn't know anything about the 285 and the 275. So I just spent the afternoon reading up on those, and guess what? It's a new machine from the ground up, and they really went and fixed a lot of the problems that I pointed out. You know, the rear escape hatch and your rear visibility, that's probably not going to be fixed. The front door, it looks identical to this one, so it's still going to have some problems. But as far as the two skid steers in this video, and yes, I know they're compact track loaders, not skid steers, but I don't care. I'm calling it a skid steer. I think this one's better if you're going to go buy one just to run. I think if ASV wants to fix things and take customer feedback and try to make this the best thing that they can, this would blow the doors off the Cat. But ASV has to want to make those changes. What I would hate to see is for ASV to do a ground up redesign and just come out with a brand new skid steer, because this thing could be badass. This thing could be just the absolute best thing out there, but they got to come out and fix some of these common sense mistakes. So that's my take on it. If I was going to buy one today, I'd buy the Cat. If ASV comes out and fixes some of the things that are wrong with this, then I would buy the ASV. I hope this video helps you. I know it's long-winded, but there's a lot of comparisons to make, and I get asked this question so many times. It's worth just going through it 100% so you can make an informed decision. So we'll see you in our next video. Thanks for watching.